Hey, my Liptons. So, oh my God. I know there's gonna be people like, girl, didn't you say you were gonna make a Pakeezah video like a month ago? I know. I know. Listen, I'm a procrastinator at heart. I'm a procrastinator in spirit, and I'm a procrastinator in the physical world, okay? But I finally watched this movie, and like, I need to give my review. I need to discuss this film. I need to discuss Meena Kumari. Like, this to me, like, okay, there's so much to discuss concerning Pakeezah, concerning Meena Kumari and her life and how unfortunate her life was. But first, let's do my review first. Let's get the notes that I wrote down and the characters in this film, and then I'm gonna discuss the other stuff towards like the end of this video. So please subscribe to the channel, okay? Let's get up to 1,000 subscribers. We're almost there. Let's get up to 1,000 subscribers. That is the goal. And if y'all want to watch any, as far as like my previous Bollywood film reviews that I did on this channel, you can go to my Bollywood Talk / ZTV Talk playlist. It is up there. Previous films, previous oldest gold films. I've been doing more of that lately. So definitely check those out. So first, okay, so the title of this film is called Pakeezah. Pakeezah came out in 1972, okay, I believe, yeah, February 4th, 1972. And Pakeezah means pure one in Hindi, okay, so the pure one. And let's just start off with this one because there's so much to discuss, and this is gonna be such a long film, but I need y'all to stay with me. Hopefully I can make it entertaining enough for you guys to watch, just continue to interact with me. So okay, so obviously the main characters is Meena Kumari playing, she actually plays a double role. So Meena Kumari and Rajkapoor, who are both right here. So this is Meena Kumari, this is Rajkapoor. Rajkapoor, he's gonna come later on towards the film, and I'm gonna discuss that. But let's just talk about it. So first, this film starts off with Nargis. Okay, so like I said, Meena Kumari, who is the actress, she plays a double role. So she plays Nargis, and she also plays Sahab Jan. I'm gonna discuss that towards like the latter part of the video. But so the movie starts off with Meena Kumari playing Nargis. So right here with the blonde hair and the blue eyes, whatever. This is Nargis right now, okay? So her name is Nargis. So the movie starts off with Nargis, and Nargis is a prostitute, courtesan. I was looking this up. They're saying that like in like, especially like looking back at, I don't know too much about it, but like the history like in India and stuff, like there's apparently levels to like the courtesan, the prostitute, the whole, like I don't know too much about it, but like there's apparently levels, and apparently there's a little bit of like a classist thing, even when it comes to like the whole like courtesan ideology, which is a whole different conversation. But Nargis is a courtesan or a prostitute or whore. I'm just gonna keep it on the Western terms of it all. So as the film continues, this man, his name is Shahabuddin, just to shorten it, Shab or Shahab. So Shahab ends up falling in love with Nargis. So he goes to the brothel, he sees Nargis dancing and things like that, and they both fall in love. He falls in love with her, she falls in love with him, he falls in love with her beauty and everything like that, and he wants to marry her. So then Shahab or Shahabuddin, to be more specific, brings Nargis back to his home, back to his compound as his wife. So he marries her, okay? He marries her knowing that it's taboo to marry like, a courtesan or a prostitute or whore. So he brings her knowing that she's a whore, knowing that she's a prostitute. And Shahab's father, and I'm gonna get to him towards the end of this video, but Shahab's father ends up rejecting the marriage, rejecting Nargis. He's like, absolutely not. You're not about to bring a whore to be my daughter-in-law. It's not happening. You must be out of your mind. Oh, and by the way, the person that is playing Shahabuddin is Ashok Kumar. So yeah, that is the actor. So Shab's father rejects Nargis. Like, he's like, I'm not with it. Like, you're absolutely out of your mind. So then Nargis is like heartbroken over it, and like you could tell, like, deep down inside, she kind of felt like Shab's family is gonna have an issue with her and an issue with the marriage. So she ends up running away. She runs away, and then from the house and from Shahab, and then she ends up going to like a graveyard or something. So she goes to a graveyard, and it turns out like she's actually pregnant. So she gets pregnant by Shahab, and while she's at this temple slash graveyard thing, she ends up staying there for like, I guess, 9 months, I guess you can say. That's also my issue too. I will talk about my issues with the film, but like, one of the main issues I have with Pakeezah, they don't specify the time jumps. Like, you know how in some films they'll say, oh, like 9 months later, 10 months later, 1 year later. Like, they don't specify that in that film, so you can kind of get confused by some of the time jumps that is happening in this film, which is a little bit annoying, but we can continue. But apparently Nargis, while she's giving birth to her daughter, when she gives birth, she ends up dying from giving birth to her daughter. Okay, so then Nargis' sister, which by the way, they don't specify her name at like literally at all in this film, but Nargis' sister ends up finding Nargis at the temple and with the daughter, and finds Nargis' dead body. So she ends up burying Nargis and takes the daughter in and raises the daughter. So then Shahab visits the grave site, and this scene is very eerie because I wrote here, this scene is very eerie because of, like, if y'all know Meena Kumari, the actress who played Nargis, she literally dies like a month after this film is released. So I'm gonna discuss all that towards like the end of this video. But so he arrives at the gravesite, and then he gets a message that like Nargis had a baby and had a baby girl. So he then goes back to the brothel where Nargis was at, and he tries to talk to Nargis' sister. And then Nargis' sister tells Shahab, which prostitute do you intend to rescue from hell? Basically saying, like, you should have known that this was going to happen. Like, you knew, like, how society treats prostitutes. You know how society treats courtesans. And you were going to take one of them as your wives. And now disaster has happened. So then Shahab tells Nargis' sister that he received a letter like 17 years later. And this is what I mean, like, they don't specify the time jumps. 17 years later that like he had a daughter. So then Nargis' sister, and this is why I said I wish the film specified the time jumps. Nargis' sister tells Shahab that his daughter is now a prostitute. So Nargis' sister raises her daughter into being a prostitute as well. So she tells Shahab that because she basically wants Shahab to leave them alone. She doesn't want Shahab to look for his daughter. Like, she makes it clear, like, that his daughter is not a prostitute, so there's no need to like look for her or anything like that. So then Shahab leaves, but then he tries to come back to look for his daughter. And when he comes back, he finds out that the sister, Nargis' sister, basically leaves. Like, she takes the daughter, which is Sahab Jan, takes the daughter, takes her with her, and they leave. Like, she doesn't want Shahab to find Sahab Jan. Okay. So I hope y'all keeping up with me, because these names are like, they're a lot to handle, but like, So I wrote here, Nargis's sister does not want Shahab to find his daughter, and the sister takes Sahab Jan to the Pink Palace brothel. So, okay, so she takes her to a completely different brothel. So this right here, who is basically her mother's twin, I guess the mother birthed herself. They got a duplicate. But so now Meena Kumari is now playing Sahab Jan. Okay, so that is now her name in this scene. She's playing the daughter now. So they get to the Pink Palace brothel. Nawab, then this scene, Nawab Saab, this is where like the song Chalte Chalte, some of the best music it comes out of this film. Like Pakeezah has some of the best music ever in Hindi cinema. So you have the Chalte Chalte song, you have Mere Tu Pata, like this song too, like beautiful, beautiful music, wonderful. Like just Meena Kumari looks absolutely gorgeous in some of these scenes. The costuming, the wardrobe, just the setting overall, like these were some of the best. Just like the jewelry, everything was just beautiful and gorgeous. And by the way, Chalte Chalte is my favorite song out of this film. So I also wrote here, like literally once we get to like two or three songs into this film, and we still at the point I was like, we still don't know the daughter's name. Like, what is this woman's name? So then I wrote here, what is Nuttigus' daughter's name? And then finally we got the name. Her name is now Sahib. Sorry, I said Sahab. Sahib Jan. So I wrote here, we get to 1 hour and 6 minutes, and we finally find out that Nargis's daughter's name is Sahib Jan. So Sahib Jan keeps thinking about, okay, so once we get to like two songs into the movie, while Nargis's sister and Sahib Jan, they're traveling, this is her on the train sleeping. Here comes this man. So this man, I wrote here, they didn't even give us the name or anything. I just wrote here, admirer. I'm just like, okay, the admirer. So he sees her on the train sleeping, and he leaves a note for her because he is like fascinated by her and is like looking at her, very mystified by her beauty and everything like that. So he leaves a note for her, and he ends up leaving the train. So then once Sahib Jan wakes up, she finds the letter, she reads the letter. It was very like nice and like, I guess you can say, romantic letter. So then Sahib Jan keeps thinking about the message that was left for her by the traveler. She calls him the traveler, and I call him the admirer. That's what I call him. And by obviously this man, the admirer, the quote unquote traveler, is Rajkapoor. That is the actor in this film. And mind you, she has never seen him, never met him, never nothing. She just only is looking at the note, and she is basically infatuated by the message that he left for her. So then this is where the song Chalte Chalte comes in. It's one of my favorite songs in the film. Beautiful song. Lata Mangeshkar is just one of the best singers of Hindi cinema. Like, there's nobody like her right now currently in Bollywood, and it's unfortunate. So like she's just like thinking about him and like wondering who he be, like my admirer, he left me this note, oh my god, like I think I'm falling in love with him even though she's never met him before. So literally the Chalte Chalte song is being sung in the Pink Palace, and one of the men that watches Sahib Jan sing and dance, his name is Nawab. They call him Nawab, and he basically requests Sahib Jan to recite the song again. So he says, can you recite that poem, that Chalte Chalte poem again? And at this point, you can tell that Sahib Jan is very, very, she's longing and yearning for this admirer, this traveler. Like, she wants to meet him so badly. And like literally when she's reciting, and mind you, in this scene particularly, she's in a boat with this Nawab. And he's asking her, can you please sing this song for me again? Because I thought it was so beautiful. And she was singing it, and then she ends up breaking down crying. So then the Nawab, I also wrote here, if y'all don't know, it took about 10 years for Pakeezah to get filmed, for it to be, for the film, some of the scenes, like there's literally some scenes in this film where like you can tell the actress Meena Kumari, she looks young, and then there's other scenes where she looks old. You can tell like she's aged quite a bit. And there's one of these scenes, and I didn't put it here in one of my for this video, but in this scene where like her character Sahib John is literally reciting the poem Chalte Chalte to the Nawab. I was like literally looking at her face, and I'm like, you can tell that they filmed this particular scene years after the film started. So that's a whole different conversation. Um, so in this scene, they're in a boat in a river, and then, but the next thing you know, these like elephants, I guess these elephants that were in like the river, they end up charging the boat that Sahib John and this Nawab was in. So then the elephants end up destroying the boat that they were on, and Sahib John was literally like they broke the boat in half, and um the other half of the boat, the Nawab ends up dying, and Sahib John ends up I guess like floating away to like this like area where I guess you can say it's like the jungle part of it, right? So she ends up landing there, and she finds this tent like in the middle of like the jungle, like in the middle of nowhere. So she finds this tent, she goes inside the tent, and Sahib John goes inside the tent, and she finds herself floated again. Yeah, she floated away onto the tent, and then she finds when she enters the tent, um, it actually happens to be the tent where her admirer lives in, because she was going through his stuff. She didn't know who lived in it. Nobody was there when she went inside the tent. So when she was looking through the tent, she saw the notebook, and she saw the writing in the notebook, and she realizes like, wait a minute, this is the book of my admirer, the one that left that message for me in the train while I was sleeping. So she ends up being like, oh my god, this is tent, like this, oh my god, like it's my lucky day, like it's a miracle, that sort of thing. So she ends up um she ends up like staying in the tent, and she ends up falling, like she lays down in the tent. So then her admirer ends up coming, this man right here. We still don't know his name. They don't tell us his name yet. So he comes, and then she pretends to be sleeping, okay? But she can sense that he's there. So he comes in, and he sees her, and he recognizes her from the train. So he was like, well, one, how did, like he was kind of bewildered, I guess you can say, but like she was like in her mind, she's pretending to sleep. She was like, oh my god, like, you know, like he's staring at me. He's, oh, my heart can't take, like that kind of stuff. So then her admirer, the man, him, he ends up stepping outside the tent, and then he speaks to her through the tent. Like, so he doesn't want to like face her. Like, so he's speaking to her outside of the tent. So he and he's asking her, he's asking her name and that sort of thing. And she tells him, oh, I don't know my name, me being here, you made me forget my name, that kind of gushy, touchy feely kind of thing. So in this scene, oh, and I also wrote here, I have to be honest, my Liptons, in this scene here too, you can tell her age. Like, if y'all go watch Pakeezah, the film, you can tell that this scene was also done years after, like maybe like in 1969, because they started working on this film in 1964. So she was a lot younger then, she was a lot healthier then, and then as time went on, when they wanted to, officially greenlight the film, in this scene, you can tell like the actress Meena Kumari aged a lot, and obviously there's a reason for that, and I'm going to discuss that towards the end of this video. So then, Sahib John tells herself that like she, she's falling in love with him, she's in love with him, but then she ends up telling, like, talking to herself in her mind, telling herself that like, her admirer, if he finds out the truth about her, like the fact that she's a prostitute and the fact that, she's a, she works in a brothel basically, that he will never love her, if he finds out that she's a prostitute. So then, but the next thing yeah, so right here, there's the scene where she's reading the letter, that sort of thing. She's in love and things like that. Um, And this is where she found the letter. So Sahib John, I'm gonna get to this part. So then her admirer ends up telling her, like, listen, like, I have to go. I need to go do something. I'm gonna come right back. And like she was like, oh, you promise you're gonna come back? And he's like, yes, I promise I'm gonna come back. So he gets on his way. He's going. So he goes. Apparently, he's also a soldier. So he goes to his site and he tells one of his comrades, like, hey, like, can you please go back to my tent and go look after a lady there? She's staying at my tent. He goes, please go look after her before I come back. And he goes, and at this time, Sahib John, she's standing outside waiting for her admirer to come back. And by the next thing you know, Sahib John notices that her aunt and another lady from the brothel are on a boat looking for her. So they come and they end up taking her back to the Pink Palace brothel. Okay. So they end up taking her back, and this comrade comes back to come and, look for Sahib John, and Sahib John is not there. So then that's when her admirer comes back and he finds that she's no longer there. So then Sahib John goes back to the Pink Palace, and like I said too, you can tell that the scene, was filmed around 1969. Okay, so her admirer comes back to the tent to find that she's no longer there. Sahib John is like heartbroken that like she was taken away from her admirer, the love of her life. And, she's very heartbroken. So then she, it's nighttime. She's in her bed. And this weirdo comes into her room and I guess tries to like, molest her or something. So she ends up running away. She ends up running away from the palace. And she gets away from that man. And then she runs on like these train tracks, right? And then her skirt ends up getting caught on one of the tracks. And then by next, here's this train like literally about to like run her over. And like she's like, of the shock of it all, she ends up fainting because she was like, oh my God, I'm about to like die. But the train ends up stopping, thank God. And the train stops. And then what do you know? Her admirer is on that train. Okay. So he's on the train. They the train driver, he comes out. The conductor comes out, everybody comes out the train, and her admirer comes out, and he sees her on the train tracks, and he's like, girl, like, what is going on? So he ends up, taking her inside the train. So then there's the scene here where he's like massaging her head, and he was like, like, what happened? Like, I told you to stay back, and then I'll come back, and da-da-da. And she was like, oh, I'm so tired. Like, she's like, oh my God, I'm so tired. I'm so da-da. And then he keeps asking her, he's like, what is your name? Where are you from? And she doesn't say anything. So at this point, he thinks that like she's lost her memory or something. So he believes like she lost her memory. She doesn't know who she is currently. Like she doesn't know her identity. So now he feels the need to take care of her and to protect her. So then, by the next her admirer then takes her to his family home, and he introduces her to his family. So then Sahib John basically plays into the fact that like she has memory loss. So she really didn't lose her memory, but because he thinks that she lost her memory, so she's just playing into it. So then, so she's taking in, they're taking care of her. The women of the household are taking care of her. And in comes in, the uncle of her admirer. And guess who the admirer's uncle is? Guess who it is? It is Shahabuddin, her father. So her father is literally her admirer's uncle, which makes her admirer and her cousins. Okay? So I was literally shook when I saw this part. I was like, oh my gosh. I'm like, oh my gosh, it's about to be crazy. So I'm watching this and I'm like, of course, for dramatic purposes. So the uncle comes in, he's greeting his uncle. He's like, oh, uncle. He was like, oh, I brought someone here, and he doesn't see, mind you, he doesn't see his daughter's face. Like, she's like, her back is facing the family, so he doesn't see her. So if Shahabuddin would have saw his daughter's face, he would have been like, oh my god, like that looks exactly like my dead wife, basically, Nargis G. So but next to here comes, they don't. This is the thing. This is what I'd be talking about Pakeezah. Even though I really love Pakeezah, I thought the film was beautiful. But this is my issue. They don't specify certain things. So I'm not too sure if this is the admirer's father or his grandfather. Like, they don't make that clear. So I just wrote here that that's the father. So if you remember, the man, the uncle, so Shahabuddin's father is also the admirer's father as well. No, that couldn't be. Because if Shahabuddin... Okay, so if that's the case, then... Okay, so his grandfather, I would say. So this is Shahabuddin's grandfather. Because the grandfather is the father of Shahabuddin, and Shahabuddin is the father of Sahib Jan. Okay? I hope y'all are, y'all keeping track of this timeline, okay? Of this family tree. So the grandfather walks in and he's like, listen, like, who is this lady? Who did you bring here into my house? And he, so basically, like, the women in the household, they're like, oh my God, you brought this girl here. You might as well marry her, da, 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 da. But then this is where the grandfather comes in. The grandfather comes in and he's telling, and by the way, you finally get the name of the admirer. So they finally give us a name. And I was like, oh my God, thank God. Like, how long was it going to take before you guys give us the admirer's name? So the admirer's name is Salim Ahmed Khan. So Salim. So Salim is telling his grandfather that he brought this woman here. Like, he feels like he needs to protect her, take care of her, that sort of thing. And the grandfather asks him, but who is she? Like, we don't know where she come from. Like, where's her family? Where's her thing? So then Salim's grandfather basically is not satisfied with Salim's answers. Like, he's like, listen, like, you're not about to bring anybody into my house. Like, we don't know who she is. We don't know her name. We don't know her family background. Da-da. Mind you, this is the same grandfather that was against his son, Shahabuddin, getting married to Nargis because Nargis was a prostitute. So, this is the same man. So then, by the next, Salim gets upset, and by his grandfather's answers and his the questioning of him taking care of Sahib Jan. So he's like, you know what? I'm taking Sahib Jan with me. I'm done staying here. So he leaves with Sahib Jan. So then, yeah. By the way, this is Salim, and then this is Shahabuddin, the uncle of Salim, and also this is the father of the one in black. He's the father of Sahib Jan, who's his daughter. So then, Shahabuddin, at this point, he still hasn't seen his daughter's face. He hasn't seen Sahib Jan's face. That it looks exactly like his wife. So he doesn't even know that, like, his own nephew is in love with his daughter, So then we continue, right? The film continues. Sahib Jan is, like, heartbroken by this whole thing. Like, she's like, listen, and she admits the truth to him. She's like, listen, I don't have memory loss. I remember who I am. I know who I am. And then she immediately tells him right then and there that she's a prostitute. And, like, the dramatic music hits. And I'm like, oh, my God, I'm so shook. So I'm thinking to myself, like, he's probably going to reject her. He's probably going to kick her. But he accepts her. He accepts her and still wants to be with her. And I wrote here, like, Salim is really his uncle's nephew. Like, he accepts, even though, like, her social standing and, like, her reputation is not good in society, but he still feels the need to take care of her, love her, and accept her. So he was like, listen, I'm still going to love you. I'm still going to marry you. So then the film continues on. And then by next to, there's this scene. There's this guy that comes, like, they're, literally in the marketplace. Him and Sahib Jan, Salim and Sahib Jan, they're in the marketplace. And then this guy comes. His name is Hashim Khan. And he recognizes Sahib Jan, her. He recognizes her in the street. And he tries to, like, I don't know, touch her or something. And then Salim comes and he's like, listen, like, what do you... like, basically, like, move, like, get out of here. And he gets into a fight with the guy. Salim gets into a fight with the guy, and they both get arrested. But the next thing you know, they both get arrested for fighting. The community gathers around these two men getting arrested and around Sahib John. And like the community is literally calling Sahib John a whore in front of everybody. And I'm like, I'm literally getting like secondhand embarrassment watching this, because I was like, this literally reminds me of like Cersei from like Game of Thrones, like the walk of shame. Like if y'all remember that scene where she's like literally in the street naked, you know, shame, shame, shame. That's what it's giving me. So like they're literally calling Sahib John a prostitute, a whore in front of Salim as he's getting arrested. I was just like, oh my God. So then they get arrested and like they end up getting released. And then once they get released, Salim then decides like, listen, I don't care that you're a whore. I don't care that you are a prostitute. At one point, I'm still going to marry you. So then he takes her to the masjid to go get married. And, you know, he brings these priests there, these, I guess you could say, muftis there to get them married. And when the priest is basically asking, Sahib John, you know, he asked Sahib John, he's like, Sahib John, what is your name? Like, what is your name? And she wasn't answering. But the next thing you know, Salim then tells the priest, he's like, her name is Pakeezah, the pure one in Hindi. So then when he said that, you know, the look on Sahib John's face was like shook. Like she was just like so, I guess, like flattered, but at the same time, like she didn't know what to think, I guess you can say. So then at this point, Sahib John, you know, the priest keeps asking her, like, do you accept this marriage? Do you accept this marriage? And she says, no, she doesn't accept the marriage, because she keeps thinking about, you know, her being called a whore in front of the community, that sort of thing. So she literally runs away from the altar. Like she literally is like a runaway bride off the altar. So she runs away. Salim is standing there at the altar, heartbroken that literally his bride ran away from the altar. So she runs away. She goes back to the Pink Palace, goes back to the brothel. And Sahib is thinking to herself, you know, the community was literally mocking her and ridiculing her. And like, she was like, listen, like if she were to get married to Salim, like, he would literally be mocked and ridiculed for the rest of his life for marrying a prostitute. So it's like marrying a whore. So it doesn't make sense for them to get married, just for like society wise and his society standing. Like he will be teased. He will be like ridiculed throughout his whole life. So then, and I wrote here too. I said, listen, at least the daughter has a little bit more, like I guess you can say a little bit more of like a reality check than her mother, because it was just like, even though it's sad, that's how our society is when it comes to, unfortunately, when it comes to prostitution. And, you know, if you're a former prostitute, if you're a former whore, but that's just what it is. Like, you know, people look down on that in society. But the next thing you know, Salim then delivers a letter to Sahib John, his Pakeezah, and he delivers a letter to her. And in the letter, she's reading the letter, and in the letter, he wrote that he's getting married to someone else and wants her to perform a song and dance on his wedding ceremony. So I wrote here pettiness. Okay, I was like, you are being so petty, Salim. But it's like, I understand too, because it's like he's heartbroken because he was left at the altar. He literally, his bride ran away from the altar. Like he's like, I don't care that you are, but you still like broke my heart. Like, so it's like I understood where he was coming from, but I was like, still, he was being petty because he wanted to humiliate her. So then basically Sahib John accepts the invite, and she goes, and this is the scene, this is the exact outfit and scene where she goes to his wedding ceremony, and she performs and dances for her life. Do you understand me? She dances in front of everybody, and she's dancing. Salim, and by the way, the song is very beautiful in this scene. Salim was heartbroken in this scene. He then leaves, and then once Sahib John, his Pakeezah, realizes that he left, she accidentally hits a lamp, and she basically starts like dancing on top of like the shattered glass on the floor, and she's dancing like crazily on the glass, and there's like blood all everywhere. And by the next thing you know, her aunt. Let me say something. There's also gonna be a roast for her aunt. I can't stand Sahib John's aunt because she gets on my nerves. Okay, there's her. This is the aunt. But apparently, I had to look it up because they weren't really giving me her name. But apparently, in the film, in the casting, her name is supposed to be. Let me find it. Her name is supposed to be Nawabi, I think. I wrote it down somewhere. I don't know why I can't find it right now. Anyway, this is Sahib John's aunt, okay? Pakeezah's aunt. So Pakeezah's aunt realizes what's going on. She calls out Shahabuddin, her father, and in front of everybody, and tells him that his daughter is a prostitute and a whore, and now this is his legacy, this is his honor, this is his dignity. And I'm just like, and I wrote here that like, that the aunt she's a complete snake. She's a snake to me, because it's like, first of all, you literally took in the care of your sister's daughter, okay, your dead sister's daughter. You bring her into your care. First of all, second of all, why would you raise her up to be a prostitute? I can understand, like, don't get me wrong, I get it. That's their environment. That's what they're brought up to be. But like, you could have enrolled her in school. You could have enrolled her in being something else instead of being a prostitute. You raised her into being a prostitute. You did not want her father, mind you. It's not like this, like some guy off the street. This is her father, her biological father. You didn't want to give the biological father his daughter. You took her away. You literally kidnapped her and ran away to this pink palace brothel. And now here you are in front of everybody, trying to humiliating him and embarrassing him in front of everybody. Talking about here's your daughter. She's dancing. She's doing she's a whore. She's trying to prove a point to everybody, as if Shahabuddin is like ashamed of it. First of all, he wouldn't be ashamed because he married his mother, and he married her mother, and her mother, Sahibuddin's mother. Sahabuddin's mother was a whore as well. So it's just like, I just feel like this woman was a complete snake. She got on my nerves the whole time. And literally the grandfather, and who is also the father of Shahabuddin, the grandfather's like, what? Like, what's going on? Like, what you mean? This can't be true. And she was like, yeah, this is Shahabuddin's daughter. This is her, By next thing you know, the grandfather didn't have to say. He said say less. The grandfather went to go take that gun, honey. He went to go take that gun and try to. I think he was either trying to shoot the aunt or he was trying to shoot Sahib John. Either way, Shahabuddin came in front of the bullet, took the bullet for his daughter. The grandfather ends up shooting his son by accident. Like, by the next thing you know, everyone gathers around Shahabuddin, and then this is the aunt. The aunt, oh my God, the aunt gets on my nerves. So by the next thing you know, everyone gathers around Shahab. Shahab is literally about to die in front of everybody. And then Salim comes back. And Shahab tells Salim that Shahab tells Salim that Sahib John is his daughter. So then that's when the truth is revealed. And then I wrote here, the aunt is talking nonsense again. Here she goes, my Liptons. She says here, Shahabuddin, Sahib John won't become your daughter until she is brought on a palanquin and carried out the brothel as a bride. Now saying, she won't officially become your daughter until she is married. And I'm like, first of all, lady, If that was the case, why didn't you just give Sahib John to her father from the beginning? If that was the case, instead of you literally taking him away from his daughter for 17 years. 17 years this man has not seen his daughter. You literally kidnapped his daughter, and now you want to be out here talking about she won't become your daughter unless you get her married outside this brothel. It's just, I can't stand this auntie. Get this auntie out of my face. She's two-faced, she's a hypocrite, she's a snake. Can't stand her. So basically at the end of this film, Shahabuddin basically dies, but they bring his dead body to the marriage ceremony, and Sahab Jan ends up marrying Salim at the end of the movie, and that's how the movie ends. So, all in all, that was my film, my little ratchet film review of Pakeezah. I love the film. Even though I will say there are little things, like I said, like I wish that they would have specified a lot of the time jumps and the names. Okay, I wish they could have specified some of the names in these films, because we literally didn't even get to know Salim's name until like towards like the middle of the film, and I kept calling him like the admirer, the traveler. Even Sahib John, like Sahib John, I didn't get to know her name until like towards like the middle part of the film. So I wish they could have specified that. I wish they could have told us the aunt's name. And like I said, the time jumps could have been better as well. Now, when it comes to Pakeezah, as I said, Pakeezah was a film that took years to make. Apparently the film initially was greenlit back in the early 60s, if I'm not mistaken. Hold on, let me see. Because initially, okay, so the filmmaker Kamal Amrohi, who was currently the ex-husband of Meena Kumari, he was the one that greenlit the film. Okay, so initially back in the early 1960s, but then because of like situations that were going on with like Meena Kumari and her husband Kamal Amrohi, that the film was shelved for a number of years, but then they brought it back again towards like the late 60s. But at that time it was just it was a rough time for Meena Kumari specifically. Listen, Meena Kumari, if y'all don't know, this woman was such a legend, such an icon in Hindi cinema. You know, she was referred to as the tragedy queen in Hindi cinema, because in a good amount of her films, they said that, you know, it either ended like in tragedy, or like, you know, it was kind of like, she was kind of like the female version of like Dilipkumar in a sense. They definitely thought, people, you know, referred to her as one of like the method actresses. Like her eyes spoke a lot of, they said that her eyes spoke a lot. You know, she didn't really have to say anything. It's just her eyes were, you know, so, had so much depth in them. So, and Meena Kumari, her birth name was actually Mahja bin Banu, but her stage name was Meena Kumari. So if y'all don't know, like I said, this film was greenlit back in the early 60s, and then they had to bring it back in 1969. They had to finish it up by then, and it was released in 1972. So literally over a 10-year period. So there's literally, if you go on YouTube, you can literally see like the first scenes that were made. It was literally made in black and white back in the early 60s. That's how like long it took to make this film. Meena Kumari, the actress that played not only Nargis and Sahib Jan, she was a great actress, but she also lived a very, very sad life. She was a woman that battled sadness, loneliness. She battled alcoholism. She dealt with a lot. Her marriage as well, to this man, Kamal Amrohi. So he was also a filmmaker as well. And he was the one that greenlit Pakeezah. Okay, one of the films, Pakeezah. And also fun fact, Zinat Aman's father was also one of the writers onto Pakeezah. That's just a quick fun fact. It is said that these two married. Okay, so they first met. He was already married and had like children, and I don't know. There's some reporting that like she was the second wife to him, and there's other reporting that like he divorced his wife and got with her. I'm gonna be honest with you. I think I choose the latter. I think that like he was still married to his first wife, and he married Meena Kumari as his second wife until they got divorced. In 1964. So he married her in 1952. They got divorced in 1964. Um, it is said that Kamal, her ex-husband, was at first like it was a love marriage. They loved each other, but then there's some reports, books that were out there stating that like her husband Kamal was abusive towards her as well. Um, it says here that in the 1960s, Meena Kumari became a huge star, which apparently caused issues in her marriage to Kamal Amrohi. They separated in 1964, and at around that time, Pakeezah got shelved. Okay, and then they say here that Amrohi was already married with 3 children. Meena Kumari became his second wife. Kamal Amrohi, her now ex-husband, but her husband at the time, apparently was very possessive of her. And he also sent one of his right-hand men, Bakad Ali, one of his like best friends or something, a right-hand man. He basically sent him when he was not like if he was not there with Meena Kumari on the sets or something, he would send him there to watch over. He will send his friend there to watch over Meena Kumari, like, and basically like watch over her while she was doing her makeup and that sort of thing, just trying to, control her, trying to make sure that she's not doing anything mischievous, basically. So they said that he was very possessive of her, and it is also said that that like she was physically abused by her husband as well. But apparently her husband Kamal Amrohi denied it at the time. But there's apparently a lot of I'm gonna say allegedly only because like he denied it, but there's people have said that there's some six different confirmed sources that her ex-husband Kamal Amrohi abused her. One of those sources being Nargis Dutt. If y'all don't know who Nargis Dutt is the wife of Sunil Dutt, and who was also the mother of Sanjay Dutt. And she was also previously involved with Rajkapoor. Nargis Dutt was also one of Meena Kumari's close friends. And she has confirmed, this Nargis Dutt saying, she has confirmed that Kamal Amrohi's right-hand man had a violent argument with Kumari. So basically, this man's friend, he sent his best friend to get into a physical altercation with his wife. I have to say allegedly, but this is what and to me personally, I do believe Nargis that. I don't like. Why would she lie about that? This is her best friend. They're saying that he sent his friend there to beat her up. They're saying that he also put hands on her. They said the marriage was very tumultuous. That's what they're saying. So then by the marriage deteriorated, and they're saying that by 1964 the marriage ended. Like they got divorced. And literally by this time, this is when Meena Kumari unfortunately started to get involved in alcohol, and she started to become a heavy drinker. And they said that she also had chronic insomnia, and she actually started drinking, like she was prescribed like this medication to help her with her insomnia, but then apparently she started drinking that with alcohol, which is never something that you should do when it comes to prescribed medication. So she became a heavy drinker after her separation, and she was also romantically linked with some men as well. And unfortunately, y'all, and I have to say it, y'all, she was also linked to, and this is confirmed, this is out there. She was linked to Dharminder. If y'all don't know Dharminder was a huge star as well back in the late 60s, 70s, 80s. Dharminder is also the husband of Hema Malini and why am I forgetting Prakash, if I'm not mistaken? I believe that's his first wife's name. And honestly, it makes me so sad because it's like her affair with Dharminder. One, she got involved with Dharminder prior to Dharminder getting involved with Hema Malini. But her like romantic link with Dharminder probably also caused it's such a bad like link because if y'all don't know, Dharminder is also a very, very heavy drinker. He drank a lot. Um he has stated that he's talked about that multiple times. People in the industry has talked about how Dharminder was a heavy, heavy drinker. He drank a lot. He was, in a way, you could also say like Dharminder was also like maybe like a functioning alcoholic. So to me, this was just a match made in hell. And it's unfortunate because I think that maybe also Dharminder also probably had a bad influence on Meena Kumari because one, she was already struggling as it is, and on top of that, like you bringing men into your life that probably are horrible influences for you, and Dharminder was just not the person to be involved with at that time because she was already going through it. She was already depressed and lonely, and and not to blame Dharminder for like Meena Kumari's alcoholism because at the end of the day, she was a grown woman. She had choices and she made her decisions, but just overall, like as far as like influences and the influence was not good. The people around her were not good. So, um, Meena Kumari, she was going through it. Like she was a woman that was really, really, she had issues, and unfortunately, um, before she could actually get the help that she needed, she literally passed away. A couple of weeks after her film Pakeezah was dropped. So after Pakeezah was dropped, 3 weeks later, she passed away. And she passed away at the age of 38 years old, which is so young, so young, and it's unfortunate that it had to happen this way. Apparently, the alcoholism got so bad to the point where I think it caused liver damage. And she was in a hospital. She was in a coma, and she ended up passing away. It is stated that at first, when Pakeezah got was premiered, that it got lukewarm reactions, but then when she passed away, um, that's when people started flocking to the theaters to go watch the film, and it became such a huge hit. And it's also a cult classic. So Meena Kumari, it's so unfortunate what happened to her. I think a lot of people took advantage of her. There's even some reports saying that like apparently she was broke to like towards like the end of her life because people were taking advantage of her finances. It's like this woman, and you can tell that she was going through so much. Even watching Pakeezah, like there's some scenes, y'all, like where I'm watching, and especially the scenes where I'm like, oh my god, like she's aged. Like you can tell like they did these scenes in like 1969 or 1970. You could tell like the alcoholism, the depression, the loneliness took a toll on her physically. Like it took a toll on her. And she she didn't have the proper people around her. She didn't have the proper people around her to help her out, to get her the necessary help, to get her off of the alcohol and the drugs and so forth. And unfortunately, it led to the end of her life. And it's so sad what has happened. And she was exploited. The fact that I'm hearing that she was financially exploited as well, towards the latter parts of her life is so unfortunate. Literally, I think it is stated that Nargis Dutt wrote on her obituary, wrote on Meena Kumari's obituary saying Mot Mubarakho, basically happy death, or like happy death for you, my friend, or something like that. I guess that's how you translate it into English. So that really just shows how much like she, like when she was alive, like she was just not happy in her life, and she was trying to find a little bit of happiness, either whether that would be alcohol or the little affairs that she was having. It's sad. It's really, really sad what happened to her. I also heard something that like apparently Rajkumar was also like in love with her at one point, like wanting to be with her, but due to her being married and that sort of thing. I don't know how true this is, but it might be just a rumor. But there's reports that like Rajkumar was in love with her as well, wanted to be with her. Yeah, listen, Dharminder, and I know this is not about Dharminder, but Dharminder has been out here. Like I know people like to, because Hema Malini, this is because he married Hema Malini. That's why it's the more talked about thing. But Dharminder has been out here. He's been cheating on his first wife for a long time prior to him getting with Hema Malini. Like he has been out here in these streets. Dharminder has been a dirty, dirty dog out here. So and I definitely believe that he was not a good influence on him and on Meenakumari. That's just my personal opinion. Just looking at Dharminder's actions and some of his alcoholic issues that he's gone through, I can tell there was a match made in hell. So, and then obviously when you look at Kamal Amrohi, clearly, and he's denied it, but for me personally, I believe that he was abusive towards her. I believe that he was possessive towards her. And the fact that you will send your friend. Also, I want to get towards the end of this video. There's a film that's going to come out about Meenakumari in 2026. They're saying that it's going to be based on her marriage to Kamal Amrohi. And apparently the film's name is Kamal or Meena, which is Kamal and Meena. Here's my thing. I'm okay with them doing a film. I'm okay with them doing listen, they did it with Sanjay Dutt. Sanjay Dutt had all the creative input. All I want is, I hope they don't romanticize, like they don't romanticize like the possessiveness and the abusiveness that was going on in this marriage. If y'all are gonna do it, y'all need to be completely honest. Completely show both sides. Don't give me no surface level BS. And also, I'm hearing that they're trying to get Kiara, this woman Kiara Andvani, to play Meenakumari, and I'm just like, first of all, they look absolutely nothing alike. I don't understand why. First of all, Meenakumari is not even. Hold on. Let me find out what Meenakumari is. And she was born. Alright, so she was born in Mumbai. But even if she was born in Mumbai, either way, Kiara looks nothing like Meenakumari. Y'all need to get actresses that look like these. Get actresses like I even saw something where Sharmila Tagore was talking about how she wants AliaBhatt to play her if she were to ever get like a documentary movie. And I'm like, Sharmila Tagore, I'm literally going crazy here. I'm like, Sharmila Tagore, first of all, why would you want AliaBhatt to play you? One, AliaBhatt looks nothing like you. Second of all, why wouldn't you get a Bengali actress to play you? You're a Bengali actress. Get an up and coming Bengali actress that actually looks like you to play you. Why you want AliaBhatt to play you? And that's what I mean. Like, sometimes Bollywood now, I don't know what's going on in the Hindi film industry now. All I'm saying is, I do not want Kiara Andvani to play Meenakumari. They look absolutely nothing alike. I don't care how popular she is right now. She should not be playing Meenakumari. Get somebody else. It's ridiculous at this point. All I'm saying is that I do not want them to romanticize Meena and Kamal's marriage. Tell it like it is. Please do not give me they were so in love, and it just, the highs were the highs. And I'm like, no, give me all sides of the story. Y'all need to add in the fact that he got with Meenakumari while he was married to his wife, and he had children out here. Discuss the abuse, the alleged abuse. Discuss the possessiveness. Also, y'all need to be honest about it too. Discuss her affairs. And get to the grits of the matter. Don't romanticize nothing. That's all I'm trying to say. Either way, this is such a long video. This is such a long video. But please tell me what you guys think in the comment section below. Please like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. Let's get up to 1,000 subscribers. And I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.